Right, guys, and welcome back to another episode on the JST podcast. Today we've got Stephen Fawcett, Jack Conway, and myself, and we're going to be discussing. So the topic is learning from failure, which I think most of us have failed across the CrossFit journey or in other sports. So we're just going to go into a bit of that. So I'll pass you over to Stephen. He's got something that he probably wants to come up with.
Yeah, I'm just here, just chilling in my home gym. Don't worry about me. It's a little bit cold over here. Screen's a little bit dodgy. I think it's a signal. So anyway, if anyone's watching, you can get over that. Yeah, this is a topic that I came up with yesterday. I've had a few conversations with some friends and athletes over the last week, but also it's probably something that we talk about quite often. And I got reminded by it by just like a little meme on Instagram, and it was fail again, fail better, and that like phrase just summed up my sporting career, like in how many words is it? 5 words, and I thought it was a powerful thing, and it's often something that I try and get across with the athletes that I coach, and because I think it's a powerful mindset for people that want to advance, not just in CrossFit but in sport and in training, and work the way up to the highest level. There's going to be times where you fail, and you fail more often than you succeed, especially in the beginning years, and then when you just need to get used to failing, but you're not accepting failure. You're using the failure to be able to then, identify why you failed and how to fail better next time. And it sounds a little bit of a defeatist like mindset, but if you keep failing better before too long, you're not going to fail, and you'll succeed. So yeah, there's a few. I can name a lot of instances in my career, kind of from being 5 years old all the way up until now. Jack, do you feel like you've had any points in your career where you feel like success wasn't really happening? You just had to keep plugging away, and then it came, or what kind of springs to your mind?
Definitely. Most of the ones I can think of are, like in sport. Obviously, it's just always been like a big thing in sport for me. So, the first one I can kind of really remember is when I was sailing. I just missed out on like the national squad, which I'd spent like quite a few years on the zone squad, like the regional squad. And the next step was national squad, and just missed out. And I was at a stage where like I was getting too big to be in the boat, so it was kind of, I had to take that step to go into the bigger boat sort of thing. So I did that, and obviously I started sailing a bit more, started writing stuff down after I'd been out sailing. And I got put onto the transitional squad, which was great because that meant I'd gone to the national youth squad in lasers. So it was pretty much like, because I missed out on the national squad in toppers, I then had to work harder, or I did work harder to then go on national squad in lasers, which was probably a bigger deal. Anyway, so yeah.
When you missed out on the selection. Mm-hmm. For the nationals, you said you wrote stuff down. Yeah. Like what type of stuff were you writing down?
So in particular, like the first thing to do is you have to do nationals you have to do well at nationals to get on national squad. So the first thing I did was I went through the week to start off with, because it was fresh in my mind. Like wrote down what went well, what didn't go well. And then next I wrote what are my options next? So it was either, try and stick it in the boat a bit longer or move up into a bigger boat, or just take a step back. And then after that, I also put down, looking back at my training for the past kind of year or two, what more could I do as well? So obviously I decided, taking a step back wasn't an option, and my grandpa wasn't going to let that be an option either. And we kind of both decided together that I was going to make this, this step up into a labour, into the bigger boat. Then, right, that's the goal. Then I look back at my training, the past kind of few years, I was probably sailing like twice a week. I started sailing like an extra day or two on top of that as well. And my grandpa, it'd be during the week after school, my grandpa would get the rib out. I'd go out on the boat and he'd just like watch me during a session and he'd be like, I want you to adjust this while I'm sailing along, or tweak that, you know what I mean? So yeah, he was like my coach at that point. So it was just like putting more time into, those little things that were going to make the big difference. Yeah.
It's good because it's interesting to me. We've never had that conversation really, have we? And what I find interesting is that obviously I've only met Jack when he started doing CrossFit in 2014-ish, maybe a bit earlier. Yeah. And you can tell he's had that mindset from previous years before, because when you first came down to the gym, there was things like weightlifting. I think you were head and shoulders just above everyone straight away. But then there's things like, I don't think you could do double unders.
No, I couldn't.
And like, at gym, you were a bigger guy then, and gymnastics and body weight and engine stuff.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop you from doing it, is the important thing. It didn't stop you from joining in when there was a double under workout. You just plug away and try them again. And if there was a gymnastics, you just stick to it. And what one big thing I remember is 2000. Let me get the year right. The year that began with Strength and Depth, 2019, is it? I'm just confused.
Yeah.
That open. Yeah. That open is you knew that like after 3 weeks it was kind of like it was going to be tough to get to the spot that you wanted to get to.
Yeah.
But still went all in every single workout. Didn't just like pie it off and give up. Yeah. Because you never know what would come if you just do keep sticking with it. And even if you're still going to learn from those next couple of weeks of the open. By doing them and doing the best you can, rather than just being like, throwing the toys out of the pram and having a hissy fit because what you've worked for hasn't come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like for me, I've always kind of, if I've not managed to do something, I've always thrived off then having to work hard to then do it. Like I always remember there was a bleep test in sixth form in college.
Yeah.
And, like everyone knew like I did sailing and they weren't expecting like, me to do well or anything. And I fucking beat everyone. And like to get the last beep, I can't remember what I got, but to get the last beep I literally, dived over the line to get there. Like I was gonna work, outwork everyone to keep keep going. I just being able to surprise people and just overcome what other people kind of think and just prove people wrong is an external motivation, but it can be quite strong. But then I feel like it comes down to back to the intrinsic thing of where like I don't want to fail, or if I do fail, next time I do it, I would then want to do better.
Fail better. Fail better. Even if but you're not afraid of failing again is the main thing. You failed and it's not putting you off going all in to fail again and like apply yourself fully and still to fail. And that's an issue that I've had with people over the year. Not an issue, but something that I've seen and been made aware of, is that people will hold back fully investing themselves because of the chance that they might fail, and then be seen to have fully applied themselves and failed. And to me, it's just not how an athlete who wants to get to the top would approach.
How about
mindset
also
they would have to approach their training? Go on, Kyle.
How about also like downplaying themselves, like so they go to work and go, "Oh, I'm not very good at this." Like straight away, they're like already putting that into failure. Do you know what I mean? They're already thinking about that sort of.
That is it. It's but say like if something comes up, say like this isn't how Jack acts, but if Jack was to do a pistols workout, like the day before or before the session, he would be like, "Oh, I'm crap at pistols. I'm going to be shit at this workout." Like that's just not something he's ever said. And he gradually over time, he's got better in pistol workouts because he just got his head down and worked on it. Rather than if he was going to go crap at pistols, everyone's going to beat me. Like middle of that workout, then those thoughts are just going to keep circulating his head. And he'd probably just like lie on his back, and accept that everyone else is gonna beat him. And I've seen that kind of attitude plenty of times. Like before a competition, let's say something hasn't quite been perfect preparation. You see people put out a post or they're saying stuff in athlete check-in that this has not been too great. I've not been feeling good. I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna have fun. That's my worst pet hate. I'm just gonna go and have fun. When this person is very much a competitive person and wants to win and succeed as much as anyone else.
The other thing is what is worse, failing or the regret after, the lingering regret of not trying it? Do you know what I mean? I would much rather fail than just be constantly thinking to myself, like, for however long after, I wish I'd just done it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's worse.
So I've got an example from last night. So Jack will know I've got quite well into my cycling. I'm loving it at the moment, and getting to a point where I feel like I could be semi-competitive. With time trials and some races. Anyway, I've joined the club in Wigan, and I've been a member now 4 weeks, and each week they do a club race. So it's Thursday night, and you get in groups depending on like your ability. And I started kind of low down, and I've worked my way up. Each week they've said, you can go up a group, Anyway, last night I was in the top group, and these guys that are in the top group are, the borderline pro, some of them. The good, the fast. They're cycling at 27 plus miles an hour for over an hour. And I've been given the go ahead to go from, because I was in the group below last week, and I was pushing the pace.
Little badges on the way up.
You what?
Get a few badges on the way up.
Yeah, getting me badges. Yeah.
That's so good.
Anyway, I was buzzing for it all week. I couldn't wait, and I knew that there was a chance I might not be able to keep up because these guys are fucking decent. But I was excited for the challenge, and if I couldn't keep up, then I knew exactly then, like that's my current limit, and for me to keep up, I'll know exactly what I need to do in terms of power output, what training, like what distance is it that I have to fall off the group. I know exactly how much I need to improve to be able to hang with that group, and then potentially to be able to beat that group. Anyway, 60 seconds in, we're going literally 60 seconds, not even an exaggeration. My computer on the front of my screen pinged off my mount, and flew into the middle of the road. And it's £300 computer. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just going to fucking leave it there. So as annoying it is I was number 2 out of the formation of 6. You're in a line, and I just had to peel off and go back around and get my computer. And the guys don't wait. It's a serious session. They just crack on and they go. And if you can catch them up, then you can catch them up. But I had to turn around about 50 meters back, go and grab it. Anyway, just as I turned around, a lorry drove over my computer and it smashed to pieces. And at that point, I was pissed off. I've been built up to do this club all week. A lot of the members were saying, "Go on, you should do that. Get in that top group. Get in the top group." So I put myself in there, and then obviously this group now, they're cycling at, like I said, 27 miles per hour, 45 plus kilometers an hour. They're nearly a mile down the road at this point, so there's no catching them on my own. And I could, at that point, I was 10 minutes away from home, could have turned back on home and called it a night. But then I just cracked on and did the whole route just on my own and just pushed as hard as I could, with a chance in my head that I might catch someone up. There was, thinking about it, there was fucking no chance it was ever going to happen. But the feeling I have now, and the feeling I had last night, was, well, at least I've got a good, 90 minutes of cycling in my legs, and I've done that route on my own, so that next week when I'm with a group and I can sit behind someone and draft a little bit, I'll be in a better position. And although it's like a small positive from that situation, that's what I took from it. Not that I've got dropped after 60 seconds in the top group, and a £300 frigging bike computer is just splattered across Wigan. It's what you take. Someone could quite easily sack that off, go home, probably never go back to the club because they feel embarrassed. But I know personally that I'm good enough to stay with that group. It wasn't my physical ability that stopped me. It was my frigging mount on my bike adapter. So yeah, it's how you take that information and how you kind of deal with it. Next week I might make it 2 minutes before the computer comes off.
That's what I was.
But I'm feeling better. You know what I mean? I've got an extra minute in there. Just got another hour to go.
I want to describe the scenario that we was just talking just before we sort of started, where I've sort of been in, say, from when I was younger playing sport, always being in the teams that won a lot, and then coming over into CrossFit, I've sort of always, and I see it as a really bad trait, and I know, like you said, you can look at it different ways, but sometimes I don't put myself into a position where I know I'm going to fail, and I actually think I see that a lot more in gyms as well, like coaches and that. I see athletes that are competing, but they're like, oh, do you know what? That's not really my workout. I'll leave that one today. And I know I've been terrible for it because I watch things on Instagram, and I think social media is probably the worst thing to watch when you just need to be in your own zone. When you're watching other people, you sort of hide away from that failure and don't expose it so much. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on changing that mindset, if you like, or if there's other people that out there that might have the same.
Yeah, I noticed it. I'll be honest, I noticed it with you when we trained at JST, and there were a few times I'd say, "Come on, just join in with me and Jack here," and you go, "No." And I didn't know at the time whether it was you just wanted to keep, you just like training on your own, or you didn't want to chuck yourself in into the deep end and me and Jack spank you.
Yeah, well, it's you know what? It's even knowing that it's not like I know that I wouldn't get spanked. It was just like sometimes it's like, just get away from that feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it makes you that nervous or anxious that what's going to happen, that you just get away from it. Yeah.
Instead of going, actually I could learn something from you guys and think, actually, I went too far behind him on that little bit. Maybe I've got something from that. I just didn't.
So that's exactly what I was going to lead to now. Is if the first step is you just need to take the step. Just do it. Just join in with someone, or train with other people, or do a competition that you feel out of your comfort zone doing because you feel like you're not going to be at the top. Like you have to do it. And when we talked about podcasts before, like when we said regionals, my first regionals, I came, it was bottom of the pack. It was like bottom. It was like 10th from bottom or something like that. And so there's that many people above me, and all those names above me were technically better than me. So I had all those names to hunt down, but I also just had direct comparison of why they were better from me from the scores in the events, and obviously the scores and what I kind of observed. They just do exactly the same. If it's a training group or it's a competition, first of all, just chuck yourself in the deep end. There's no pressure on you. No one expects you to win. Like I personally find that was a harder position to be in when people expect you to win. So you can just go all in, do your best, and don't go into the expectation that you're gonna win. I know you might be used to it from what you've done growing up, and then take the positives from areas where you were, you'd beat, or maybe you had like good events, or you had good workouts, or there's some movements in a training session that you were up there with the big guys, and then but also observe the areas what have actually contributed you to be further down the leaderboard. Like, why can I not be up there with them on everything like Jack did? Write them down. Make some notes.
After a few months of you being at JST, like we did a few workouts together and stuff. And they'd be like, we do a workout together, and for the first few rounds, you'd be like right next to me, and you'd be like, what's on here? And then next thing you know, you'd be like starting to kind of, lag behind. But that's when you're like, right, I've paced this probably a little bit too quick. Do you know what I mean? But that's where you learn your stuff. Like you learn, your pacing and a little bit more, and like how long you can maintain that pace for. Because it might be the case where you actually, if you just did it on your own, you won't go out that quick. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, I definitely feel being up with you guys. I definitely found another gear as such. It was something else I found, but it was more often than not, it was more like I was just like, do you know what? I'll sit this one out and watch you guys, where I shouldn't have done. And, I think now being injured for so long, so many injuries, like now I just want to get back and I'll just be happy to do a workout. Do you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden it's come to that, and now so it's good to have this chat and hear that from you guys. Yeah. And also hopefully everyone else hears that, because failure is something that we shouldn't obviously be worried about.
It's probably one of them as well. Like if you do fail, like at any point, just like write down after. Well, what if I just learned from that, that time, whatever you did wrong in the workout, or whatever it is, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you've kind of accepted, right? This is what went wrong. Next time I'm going to try and, change this to make it better, or whatever. And you've accepted it, and then you've actually made a plan of what you're going to do better next time. Yeah. It could be just something, as small as, I don't know, I need to bring my elbows in for double unders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least kind of you've accepted, accepted it, and you've got a plan.
I can just thinking back, there's so many times where I've failed, but the motivation that I've took from failing has just been so much greater than the motivation I took from when I've won or succeeded. I think back as early as when I was 11 or 12. I joined, I was playing football, and I joined Morecambe Football Club's junior team. It was under 10s. It was all the best players in the area. I was there, and I got in the team. I was playing. We were winning everything. We just won absolutely everything, and I was kind of bored. We were just we're just winning. You could even just sit back and just not try that hard because the rest of the players in your team are also that good. You still win. And I ended up joining just an average team when I went to under 12s. Because my brother played there and one of my mates played there, so I joined them, and I got a load of stick from the club for leaving, even though I was frigging 10. And that club, like middle of the pack, were probably like your God, I don't even know clubs in the Premier League anymore. Someone who's mid-table. Whether we'd won, there was no. We'd win as much as we lost, and we'd draw as much as we won and lost. Like it was random. You never knew what the outcome was going to be. And from when we'd lose, obviously you'd be annoyed and you'd be pissed off. But like I can remember, like through the week of training, I would be going out on like runs. I would be practicing like passing against the wall or more. Trying as hard as I could in training and try and get everyone else to try as hard as they could in training, so that if we did lose on the weekend before, that we performed better the next week. And this was when I was frigging 12. So it was that. I think when I think back as well, could I have ever made it as a football player? Should I have stayed at that club when I was 10? I generally feel like I probably wouldn't be as good in any sports if I'd stayed with that successful club from when I was
learning from an early age about failure, really, is it? So probably the best time to sort of get into that understanding of it.
Yeah. And then since then there's been like we've gone through before, regionals, just kind of like gradually worked my way up the leaderboard. I've been like call it failed. I never took it as a failure. It was failure to qualify for the games, but that was never really the goal in the early years. It was to work my way up the leaderboard. There was a time when I failed 102 kilo clean and jerk in a competition in Sweden. 4 years later, I clean jerked 160, so 162. So it's like it's how you take it. Could have easily just put me innovates in the locker and sacked off CrossFit at that point. But yeah, there's a not name names. There's athletes that I know have had successful upbringings in sport that don't quite take losing the right way, or failing, don't quite take it the right way, and it negatively impacts their future performances in training or competition.
How do you as a coach, Steve, help people out, or do you, Jack? Someone, if you've got an athlete like that, just not preparing themselves to get into that failing sport, what do you advice in that sense do you give them?
I think first of all, people need to become aware of the actual level that they're at. Like, what's the realistic level? Not where you want to be and expect your performance to get to where you want to be. It needs to be, where are you now, and the time that you're going into that competition, and what's realistic for your performances. And you can't really control the performances of the other people in competition. Like, what they'll do is what they'll do. Like, it's not like what you do in your event affects how they complete theirs. So you can't control their performance. So you might not be able to put a rank number on it, as in like, I want to come 10th, or I want to come top 15 or top 5. You just need to go through and perform your events like to the best of your ability, and then you will get a realistic result. Bearing in mind that you applied yourself fully to where you're at, and you've got to kind of go into the next competition with that. If you don't know where you're at, you have to go into it with that attitude and mindset, and then you can think about building from that for the next competitions. Like, right, let's say it was easier for us when it was regionals because it was always like the same standard, whereas a sanctional event now it's different from sanction to sanction. And there's a bigger pool of athletes that you're competing against. But you kind of get the gist. If I'm top 10 on weightlifting workouts, and then I suddenly start being like top 7 for a few, and then I get top 5 for a few, you're working your way up in weightlifting workouts. Same goes for running or any gymnastics workouts like that. And like the result in terms of your ranking is always the side effect of your performance. So you can't control the result, but you can control your performance. And as long as you can control your performance in your training in between the results, so in between the competitions, and like Jack did, he'd plan out after his sailing, after he didn't make the national squad, he'd plan out what he can do better in training and what he can tidy up on. Make sure the focus is there in the training and kind of giving you the fuel for the fire each day and each week until it gets back round to competition, and make sure that you're in a better position you were for the next competition than you were in the last. So all you need to do then is be in control and apply like your full performance again. And 9 times out of 10, the ranking will be higher than the last time. I always used to picture myself doing these workouts that I knew athletes above me at regionals would beat me on. I would picture myself like going against them, like what roughly would they be doing? Like, can I aim for that time, or can I aim for that performance, can I aim for that weight, whatever it was? And if I couldn't, if I wasn't capable of it yet, then I'd go back and I would break it down and make sure I put myself in a position where next time I do a workout like that, I can get, I can hang a bit closer to them, and just gradually just kind of bridging that gap, or just making it a step closer until.
On another, would you say being more someone obviously lower level, they should do more competitions to experience that and get that knowledge from themselves? So maybe like if you was looking at going to
Kyle, say that again. It just went off.
Can't hear you. He's out.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello. No, we missed all of that.
All right, I'll say it again. So basically, like, say more of a lower level athlete, not like your games or stage athletes. Like myself, should we be doing more competitions to gain more experience and better knowledge of where we are in a season, if you like, instead of trying to look at, okay, let's try and get to a sanctioned event, we're just going to do that. Obviously not going to learn too much about ourselves.
I think you need to do a competition, definitely, because you need to know where you're at. You need to know where you stand in terms of your performance, so that you can make a plan, or you can identify where's strong and where's weak against athletes you're competing against, so that you can apply certain areas you're training to improve. I don't say you need to do lots of competitions. You just need to do enough for you to be able to be like, right, this is now where I'm at. If one competition wasn't enough because some things happened, or you didn't perform for whatever reason to your best capacity, then maybe you need a couple until you're fully confident and you can identify exactly where you stand. Are you a champion? Are you a conference player, or are you in the championship?
Yeah.
You need to grasp where you're at. Conference. There you go. Northwest counties.
Southeast, mate. Southeast.
I think leading on from that, competitions as well. Like I've competed as an athlete and done a bit of coaching at a few competitions now as well. When you're a coach, you can see it's amazing the amount of athletes that come off the competition floor and they've got the head down. You can just see they've got like, you know, a negative mindset. Like as soon as they've come off, they're straight away they're looking at, you know, what went wrong there. And I don't think at that point, straight after that event, you might have, you know, your 20, 30 seconds saying, you know, that didn't go that well. But I feel like you've got to try and, for me anyway, I'd try and take the more positives from it. So then I've got a bit of momentum going into the next event. Quite often I see, you know, like I say, athletes with their heads down and then going into the next event, they're like not doing a proper warm up because they're like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm going to do shit in this one now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the key thing, you know, try to be more positive, take positives from an event that you've just done and you've got another one coming up. And then after the weekend, then look back at it, or at the end of the day, look back at it then. Don't do it kind of during that competition, during the day. I feel like that's kind of a pretty key thing to...
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point, that. And it's definitely something I've seen and had to kind of work around as a coach a lot as well. And the tough thing is that these athletes that are at these competitions, like, it means that much to them. It's hard for them to, you can't mask that emotion. Like if something's not gone well, you can't like just disregard that emotion. Like they're gonna feel pissed off, and they probably have to feel pissed off for them to then get it out of the way. Whereas if you just let them be pissed off, say why they're pissed off, get it out of the system, like just get everything out of the brain and the mind so they can offload it and talk about it. And then it'd be like, right, now what can we take from it for the next one?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, how long does that period last for it? Which is the important thing. Is like, do you let them have 10 minutes? Do you let them have an hour? It probably depends on how much they've, you know, not done well.
Yeah.
To how long the next event is. But yeah, there needs to be a point where it's like, right, it's happened now. We've written it down. You've spoke about it. Like this new event is a new event. It doesn't matter what. Everyone's starting from, you know, 0 on the clock or 0 reps, whatever it is. Like everyone starts afresh. So you've got to then just kind of like take whatever positive you can from it, and then go for it the next time. The regionals 2017. There was an event started with assault bike. Me and Jack were on, and it was 30 cals each, I think.
Yeah.
And it was 30 cal each sprint. I went first, then Jack went, and then it was into 50 heavy synchro wall balls, bar muscle ups, and then rowing at the end.
Yeah.
And we jumped on. Well, I jumped on first, head down, just went for it. It was like 30-second cals, like a max sprint would take. 30 cals. Max sprint would take about 30-35 seconds. And 5 seconds in, the judge put their hand up. The assault bike screens blanked out, and we get given this contingency plan, which was a load of bullshit. I can say anyway. Otherwise, is that every time your right hand went forward 3 times was 1 calorie, and they clearly hadn't tested this like contingency plan at the watts that we would be producing when we were sprinting, and that 60 calories between us ended up taking nearly 2 minutes, when it would take a minute probably max for us both to do it. It happened again with Ben, who was in the next pair after me and Jack went, and at the time we thought it severely affected our chances of winning or qualifying for the games. We were fuming, had it out with the judges. We probably went on for about an hour. Just disputing it, appealing, we didn't get anything. We actually came second in that event overall, and we were like 0.5 seconds behind Reykjavik, who won that event. So after all, we'd been fuming and swearing and calling the assault bikes. Like, once we'd let that go, we're like, right, well, let's just think about it. We would have been 2.5 minutes ahead of Reykjavik if that bike hadn't happened. Like, we couldn't control that bike. That was just an error from the competition. Like, if that bike didn't happen, we would have been 2.5 minutes ahead, and we would have been up there with a world record time for that event. Like, we know we're taking that as the positive, and then we went into the next event, which was worm, shoulder to overhead, and rope climbs, and we won the event and we got a world record because we took that like, we know we're capable of what happened in the last event. We were just unlucky probably because the assault bike screen switched off. But we're taking the positives. We've had the stage where we're pissed off. We're taking the positives, and then we're starting this next event with a bit more fire in the belly, knowing that we've got what it takes to be able to smash event records. And we went out, and if you watch the video of that event, it's pretty cool. There's some good footage, and we're just absolutely, you can tell that we're pissed off. We're just absolutely flying in between transitions and through the reps.
Thing is though, like, none of us would even bother arguing with a judge really. Like, we exchanged a few words because it, you know, the contingency plan wasn't working, was it? But after that, we were like, you know, head down. We made up loads of ground after that, didn't we? Do you know what I mean? That's just our mindset that, right, you know, what's happened. We just fucking got to crack on here and claw back what we can.
Yeah, and I think that the statement that we made there by having, like, everyone thought we were last off the assault bikes, and me and you were probably the two fittest men in the competition there. We were last off by a mile. We pulled it back to, and we were probably third to finish that workout around about in our pairing competition. And then for us a team to be half a second behind, people were just like, oh my God, they had like an extra 2 minutes on the bike, and they still spanked most of the teams. So like, just using that as it's a bit of a statement really as well. And then obviously the next event coming out of the blocks like we did, I think it made people realise that we were, we weren't fucking about. And probably last one touch training wise for me is that I know my performance started increasing when Jack started beating me in training. That's what made my deadlift go up. That's what made my snatch go up, because these were the areas. That's what made me better at wall balls, rowing, because these are the areas that Jack would always like beat me on. Yeah. That's why I'd often go training with Briggsy, because everything, she was spanking on everything. There's probably only strict handstand push-ups and handstand walks that I would beat her on. But every time we went, she'd wipe the floor. And they'll train all the training partners that I've had over the years, Hesketh, Tino. I would always take when Phil would beat me on something, I would always take the positives, and Tino would only ever join in something that he knew he could beat me on. But he did that. Like, I know that he's unselfish guy. He did that for me, so that he could push me. Because although he was competitive, he fully understood that he wasn't going to be like top boy. So he didn't. He would train. He always trained hard, but it wasn't like the end of the world if if didn't get to a certain level. So yeah, that's what always kind of what did it for me in training. Having people that could beat me kept me on my toes.
I feel like this is a subject that we should cover is probably the games as well. Last year, obviously, we kind of came back and we were like, right, we're gonna do better than what we did kind of the year before, the 2 years before. The 2 years before. and it didn't go to plan, did it? And I wouldn't say like it. I wouldn't say it was a failure because we didn't get the result that we wanted, did we?
Yeah. No. You mean in 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted to win, or we wanted to podium, didn't we? So, I mean, you can count anything technically that's not a win as a failure.
Yeah.
But a failure is not a bad thing. You failed to beat everyone.
Yeah.
Which is not negative. Most of the time, it's not negative. It's just how it's how you take that word failure.
Yeah.
To build from it. And yeah, we definitely didn't want to come 15th.
Yeah.
We probably were realistically a top 10 team.
Yeah. But like, even after we had not such a good event, the ones where we kind of made sure we could, go foot to the floor, or we still gave it all roll, didn't we? In the event after, and it's easy to when you do like. I'd say we were quite up and down with some of the results. Like even after not a great event, we'd be like, right, we can still we're still gonna aim for this or top 10 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? We feel like the mindset as the team was still pretty good.
It's like in CrossFit events as well. Like what you've got to remember is that it's not like Tour de France or anything else where your last performance affects your next performance because you get like a time difference or a point score or anything like that. Like every event starts from zero again. And the leaderboard might be affected by it, but it doesn't put you in a better or worse. If you win an event, it doesn't put you in a better or worse position for event 2.
Yeah. Event
2, everyone's at zero again. And it's like it's reset every single time. It's not like you go in, you've got a football match and you lose 3-0 in the first half, and then you've in the second half you're still losing 3-0.
Yeah.
Whereas in CrossFit, if it was CrossFit and it was a football match, if you're losing 3-0 in the first half, second half starts, it's 0-0 again. Do you know what I mean? And you get that chance to go, and you get a lot of those 6, 7, 8, 10, however many events there are in the competition. You get the chance to, the slate gets wiped, and you get the chance to start fresh every time.
Yeah. And on that, with that as well, there's there's 1 in say 8 chances of failing with something that's out of control or something that you're not so good at. So there's always a lesson learned probably every time you go into the competition, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
or even training.
Yeah, definitely.
How about a summary then, Steve or Jack, just on the failure of the learning to fail, or whatever we said?
Learning to fail, failing better, whatever it is. It's just don't be afraid to chuck yourself into a situation where your chances of failing are higher than succeeding, but take the failure, take the failure in a way where you can fail better or learn from it for next time. Because when you fail like that, like you find your limit, as long as it was you fully applied yourself and it was a performance that reflects where you're at. You find your limit, you find exactly where you are, and from that you can build from it. And I just take that approach to it rather than worrying what people are going to think if you fail, because no one actually cares, to be honest. The only people, it's the people at the top, if they fail, who are already at the top, if they fail, then there might be comments made about them. I feel like it's hard for those guys that are at the top. But if you're not at the top, there's nothing to lose.
Jack, could I add anything to that?
Yeah, and exactly what Steve said then. Like, if you're at battle for middle ground and you've had your 20th and you had not a great result, no one else is going to be really worried about where you are. So don't worry about what anyone else is thinking. Like we said before, just make sure you have a plan after you have failed and how you're gonna try and stop or try and not fail next time, or like Steve said, fail better. Whether it's kind of you accept it better or whatever. Just you got to find what works for you, don't you? Kyle, what about you, mate? Yeah.
I suppose it's just like I would say to people, from my personal view on it, is don't like, again, like, know where you are, like Steve said to yourself, where you are as an athlete. Don't think like you're like, don't be afraid to go in and fail with people around you that may be better or not, or you might not think as good as you. Just go in and just apply yourself to what it is. I mean, for me, just coming in and having a chat with you guys on the podcast, I'm going to take something away from this. I'm going to use it. Just not going to, be worried about failing in workouts or training, or it's mainly training. That's where you spend most of your days, and even that becomes a bit of an issue where you're like, oh, the whiteboard workout, we've built with a bunch of people. I might fail on this one. I'll just leave it. So yeah.
I think what one big thing is people worry about the perception that other people might have on them from a performance, from a score they might put in, or from a ranking they might get. And honestly, no one's asked.
No.
Yeah, no one's asked. I can't tell you a time when I looked at someone's score and went,
"Oh yeah,
that's yeah." And if people do think like that, then fuck them.
Yeah.
What's the saying? If those that mind don't matter, those that matter don't mind.
Yeah,
there you go. And that's how we should finish the podcast.
That's how we're going to finish it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening or watching on the YouTube. I hope that found some good information from that. And don't forget to like, tag, share us, and we will see you on the next one.
See you.
I'm